Welcome to the very special live session for Boost Camp. Hopefully you've already registered for Boost Camp. Let me know in the comments if you have. If not, I would love to hear, if not, I would love it if you would join us. It's free. So in the video description, you can find the link to register for Boost Camp. And it's a week where not only are we managing our mail and our to-do papers, but we are actually implementing. So it's not just me telling you how, it's me actually helping you take action as well, and in a fun way. And if you don't already know, the Paper Path course is open right now for enrollment. It is a do-it-yourself, so it's self-paced, at your own time, you own it forever. But you grab this course if you want to organize all of your papers in your entire home. And it's called the path because just like a path, it leads you one step at a time through organizing all of your papers. And your action file, which is what we're talking about this week, is the first step in your entire paper system. So the Paper Path course will tell you what happens to the papers, where they get stored, how they get organized after they leave your action file, when they're ready to be filed, right? So join me for the Paper Path course if that's something that you're interested in. If you want to get your papers organized more efficiently, if you have a bunch of old papers to sort, I teach you the onion method to make sorting so much easier. That is available now, and the price goes up Friday the 13th. So right now it's $50 cheaper than it will be, and you can get 1 free month of the Path membership. And my Path members, I see a bunch of you in the comments right now. My Path members know that is focused on getting things done and helping you actually make progress on things and get your to-do list done. So if you would like to have that extra motivation and help getting stuff done, no matter what your projects are, not just papers, then the Path membership is an awesome resource for you. All right, in the comments, let's see. All right, wow. I asked if you were registered for the Boost Camp, and let's see. Oh, there we go. Melanie says that she can hear me now. Yeah, so Maria and Dottie, Wendy, Jeannie, so many people, everybody's saying yes, 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 they're registered. Vicky says, yeah. Perfect. And thank you, Erica, for that. Everybody can hear me. Fantastic. Everyone says hi. Sherry says, please help you. Yeah, not a problem. And on Facebook, somebody asked, is this being recorded? It is. Yes. So there will be a replay later as well, for sure. All right. Yeah, there won't be a recording light because that would show on my side. It won't show on your side. Yeah. Nellie says, I was just moving papers around so I can work on them now. Yay. Awesome. I'm not quite sure. So, something about your son is at your place, Vicky. That's okay. The replay will be available later later this afternoon. Yeah, Sherry says about the Path membership, just do it. And oh, CJ says the Paper Path course is great. Sign up, you guys. Oh, thank you guys. I love that. I love that. I'm so glad that you guys have enjoyed the Paper Path course. I've heard such great things. Let's see. Oh, Jana, yeah, it was my fault that you couldn't hear me. Yeah. And Connie, yes, this is the Boost Camp. It is. So this is day 2 of Boost Camp. But sometimes people just stumble upon these live sessions and they are just confused about why they're even here. So if you've not registered yet, you still can. All right. Well, let's dive into the meat of this. All right. Action file. Now, if you've already built your action file, hopefully you have. If not, then in your email yesterday, there was a downloadable how to build your action file. It's super easy. You probably already own everything that you need in order to build your action file. So I won't go over all of that today, but I wanted to talk about the overview and principles of the action file so you can understand how then to make that as efficient and optimal as possible. So the action file, the goal of the action file is to handle every incoming paper. That's your mail. That's things that the kids might bring from school. That's stuff that you empty out of your purse. Every incoming paper in your home has a place in the action file. And this is where any papers that have to do with a to-do item will also go. I call them active papers because there's an action that's still needed with them. So that is what your action file is. It holds all of those active papers, all the stuff that just came in that needs to be processed and all the stuff that has something that needs to be done with it. Now, with the action file, there are a few things to make sure that you remember as you are using your action file. So, and I'm going to just tip this down a little bit so you can see my file. Every folder, you'll notice, in the action file relates to an action. So it usually starts with the word to. Now, the reason that we do this is because our brains will actually, once you're used to this, the habit of it, have an easier time figuring out what the next step is to do versus trying to pick from the type of paper it is, because we have a million different types of papers, it seems, that come into our home. There's no way that we can have a system with all those files folders that's really easy to use by paper type, right? So if we do it by the next action that's needed for the paper, then it's so much easier. We don't need as many folders. We can have something that's super easy. And not only that, but I'm going to go out of order here, actually. Oh, no, I'm talking about that next part. You're right. But that will help with productivity, which I'm going to tell you about in just a minute, too. So every folder is an action. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, it'll start with the word to. What's the next action? Then remember, you don't have to worry about all of the folders. Really, just the to-do folder is the main one that you actually have to check on a regular basis. If you added in your own personal folder for to pay, that one would also need to be checked. But for the most part, all of these other folders, nothing urgent should be in there. You know, the to read, to scan, to enter, to file, all of those are just ways of, well, to read is just making sure that there's nothing that's, unexpected there, or maybe you ripped out magazine articles that you wanted to put in there to read later. So usually that's not anything that's super, super important. To enter, the information's already on the paper. You just need to enter it somewhere else. So whenever it gets entered is fine. Until then, you know where to find that information if it's not been entered yet. To file, it's just going to go in a filing cabinet or your short-term files or somewhere within your paper system that we talked about in the Paper Path course, right? So all of these other folders, these are not urgent. You don't have to try to remember to go back to them. When they get full, they get filed or they get done, right? Until then, nothing major should be happening in those file folders. It's just your to-do folder. That's the only one that you really need to make a system of checking, which we will talk about today. So don't worry about the other folders. If you have time, you can go through them, but not as stressful because there's one folder that you have to check. Number 3, papers flow from your action file into your full paper system. So this is step 1. In the Paper Path course, you'll find that the whole first milestone is just the action folder, which means that if you did join the Paper Path course, then after this week, you're already done with milestone 1. Like, how great is it to start with like a head start? But this is step 1, is capturing all of the new incoming papers and active papers. And then from there, when they get finished, they flow into that paper system, whether it's your short term, your long term, your special papers, wherever it goes from there. Within your action file, remember that you should always have fewer than 10 file folders. If there are 10 or more, then it becomes much harder to make those fast choices about where the paper goes. We're talking broad categories here. The broader the category, the easier it is for your brain to process and make a choice. So always have fewer than 10 folders. And if you have more than 10, then figure out which ones could be combined to be a broader category. And then you want to always keep this in the easiest spot possible. I say wherever you're normally dumping your mail and papers when you come in, stick this right there until this has become a habit. If it's the middle of the kitchen counter, stick it in the middle of the kitchen counter. If it's the middle of the dining room table, stick it in the middle of the dining room table. That way, when you go to dump your mail, you'll see your action file. So you'll remember, oh, okay, let me just put it in the action file really quickly. So keep it in the easiest spot. Once you're used to it, you can move it still somewhere easy along your walking path for when you come home. So that way papers can get right in there, but it might not have to be in the middle of the kitchen counter anymore. Once it's a habit that you put things in the action file, then you can move it around slightly. Okay, really quickly, I can't spell. I would love to hear what color or style is your action file. I always like to hear that. So as you can see, mine is this like rose gold one that I got off of Amazon, that you may have also gotten this one if you checked out the kit that's on the website. And I love pretty folders, but only the first one's the pretty one. Then the rest of them are just the basic blue colors. So what color are yours? While you tell me that, I'm going to tell you why this works. Why did I set it up like this? Well, for one, you get the benefit. When papers come in and you look them over, you decide, do I need to keep this or not? And you decide to keep it and you put it in the file folder, you get a second chance to review that and really make sure that you need to keep that paper before you file it. There are so many times where I find people will be filing papers from their to file folder and they've got that fresh brain instead of the crazy dogs are barking, groceries in the hand, putting things in the file folder really quickly. They've got their fresh brain working and they go, why in the world did I think I needed to keep this paper? And they can let it go. So it keeps so much of the junk from filling up your file folders with that second review. It also, like I mentioned before, it helps with productivity because it's already batching. So if you've ever heard of batching with productivity, that's doing the same type of task in chunks. So all the phone calls at once, all of the computer work at once, anything that has to do with errands and out of the house at once. So that's batching, where you're creating groups of time where you're doing the same type of task. Well, your action file, it's already batching for you. So you've got all the things that you have to enter somewhere else. You've got all the things you just have to read. You have all the things that you just have to file. So if you're doing batching, then you can just grab a folder that's already batched for you. So that makes it really helpful. Plus those fewer than 10 folders, when we have fewer choices, it's easier to make a decision. So if you've ever been to, what's it called? The Cheesecake Factory or a similar restaurant where their menu, I swear it's like this thick, it seems like. And there's so many choices. Think about how long it takes you to make a choice, right? I know for me, I start to look and then I just default to the same thing that I get every time because too many choices. But if a restaurant gives you 3 choices, if you went somewhere like Chick-fil-A, it's like you can get a chicken sandwich, you can get a chicken nugget, you can get a chicken wrap. There you go. They might have a couple others, but it's so much easier to make a choice, right? Because there are fewer choices for those decisions. Well, it's the same with your papers. So your brain can make a choice between fewer than 10 options a lot easier than if you were to go to your file cabinet where there's 100 different choices. That's a lot harder for your brain. It engages your brain much more and makes it work harder. Also, your action file, it can hold every single paper. So you don't need multiple systems for the incoming papers, right? You don't need one for finance, one for medical. No, action file can hold it all, which is nice. And it's fast and simple to use once you get the hang of it, so much so that everyone in your family can use it, which makes that so much easier too. So those are the reasons why it's set up the way that it's set up, right? We want this to be easy. We want our brain not to have to engage to get things in there. And we want it to be easy to get things back out so that it can go into our paper system where it's supposed to go. Before I go on to the next level ideas, I wanted to see what color is your action file? Let's see, really quickly. Oh, really? Yeah, Jeannie says that yes, she's registered. And I will answer your question about what the Paper Path course is in just a couple of minutes. All right, on Facebook. I definitely want to honor that question and I will get to that. Connie says, okay, got it. Boost away. I love that. Yes, she says, there it goes. Melanie says, my action file is black, heavy plastic. Ooh, nice. Good. Black goes with everything, right? Donna says, rose gold like mine. Oh, yay. Awesome. Brene is black metal mesh, the same size as mine. She says that she loves it. Joanna's like mine, but gold. And Donna has pastel colors with flowers and designs. Oh, that sounds pretty. Dottie used what she already had, which is great. She says it black. Already had it. And Connie, black mesh folder and holder with wet with red stars. Oh, cute. And pastel file folders. Oh, cool. Wendy says her folders are 6 rainbow colors, nice and bright to grab easily. Yes, if you are a visual person, having different colors is so helpful because you get used to maybe, green is your to do and red is your to file or things like that. It makes it actually a lot easier. Good one. Vicky says the action file, she built it in a rectangular wire basket. Lovely. And CJ says, ooh, a large leather open top tote that can live in her family room. She says it holds hanging files and it's portable for her rambling work style. Oh, I love that. Connie has black mesh holder. Yeah. And Sherry, lucite box with red folders. Ooh, that's fun. CJ says the color of the leather one is black and cognac leather combo. Ooh, I bet that's handsome looking. Jana says, mine are currently just the green hanging file. Hey, that works. If it works, that's all that matters. I like it. Jody says that her file box is bright fuchsia. Ooh, fun. And Sherry Kaye says red folders for urgent and white folders for regular. Super smart. Love that. Yeah, I'm a visual person. So I like things to be pretty just because I am such a visual person, but I also like to color code things all the time. All right. Well, great job. Let's talk about how to take this to the next level because you've got your action file built now, right? And hopefully you've been playing around with it, using it a little bit, but here's some things that you can do to make it even more efficient. First off, here are a couple of supplies that you might want to consider adding to your action file. Now, what I do, this one pretty folder that I have, and this is my example action file, so that's why it's not super color coded, but one of the things that I have is in this pretty folder, this is actually just a bunch of supplies. So I don't have a lot of papers in there. I have all the different supplies. So some of the supplies that you might find helpful to keep inside of your action file, maybe a business card holder. If you still like to keep business cards, then it can be helpful to have a business card holder or an address book, something like that. So those to enter items are super easy to enter, and your action file can be your go-to place. We're going to talk early next week. I will share a video about command centers and how to make your action file a part of a command center and make that the center of your life. But the business card holder can be really helpful for that. I also like to keep just note paper. In your action file, you can write notes to yourself of things to remember to do or to enter, and just toss your notes in the action file too. So if you're one of those people who writes on envelopes and Post-it notes and anything that you have around, that's absolutely fine. This works really well for you because you can take that note and stick it in your to-do or your to enter or to read, whatever the note has to do with. So note paper next to your action file is super helpful. I like to have a pencil pouch. So that way within my pencil pouch, I can have a little stapler because I find that paper clips always get stuck with the other papers, get stuck in them. So I like to have an actual stapler so they stay together. Of course, extra notes. I like Post-it notes. That way, if I have a note that I need to remember about a paper, I can write it really fast, stick it on the paper. And I like to have a pencil and a pen. And if you still write checks, then having your checkbook right there and some stamps, that's really helpful to have. You can even put some envelopes if you need to, putting those right inside your pencil pouch. And I have a highlighter because sometimes like if bank statements come in or things like that, I like to just highlight what the important information is, like insurance policies, which insurance policy is this and what's the number. So that way when I file it, it's easy. And just some binder clips. There are some other things that you can also add if you wanted to. The rolling identity protection stamps. They're just like these little rollers you can get off of Amazon or off a supply store, anywhere like that. But it's an ink pad stamp where you can roll it across a paper to cover up with ink any sensitive information. That can be really handy right within or next to your action file. So that way, if you don't have a shredder or if you don't want to shred absolutely everything, you can just cover up that sensitive information really quickly. I like to keep my shredder and a recycle bin right near my action file. So that way when papers come in, I can decide shred, recycle, or keep. If you like to keep things like coupons or if you keep your receipts, sometimes having just an envelope in the front for all of your coupons or for that month's receipts, that's really helpful because you can just, as they come in, just tuck them in there. And if it's for coupons, sometimes just clip your grocery list right to the coupon thing so that you don't forget to bring your coupons to the store, right? I also like to make sure that I have some of my various cheat sheets right inside. So within the Paper Path course, we talk about the paper policy, which I'll tell you about in just a minute. But I keep my paper policy in there, how long to keep important documents within the Paper Path course or the Spark Life Binder, or if you got this as a bonus sometime, then this is a really good one because that way you can just look and see, okay, how long do I need to keep that? Here's the example of my paper policy. all of the paper decisions, wrote down the decisions. So that way I don't have to make that decision again. I know exactly how I'm handling that paper, where I'm filing it, how long I'm keeping it. And it's just a simple answer. And any other type of reference material that I would use all the time. So those types of things are great to have right inside or next to your action file. So if you have any other ideas of things that have helped you within your action file, I would love to hear those. And let me actually pull this out really quickly. I would love to hear that though, because I'm always looking to hear how creative and inventive you are and what helps you along with your action file. So tell me in the comments if you have things that you keep in or next to yours that are really helpful for you. And quickly before we go on in the comments, Jana says her container is a C's snack gift shipping box. The hanging files fit perfectly. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. And hey, Carla, good to have you here. Wendy says my action file actually has a drawer underneath. Oh, I love that. She says, and it's divided for holding things like you showed. Really handy, especially if I take it with me. Ooh, that's awesome. I do love that. And Jody says, oh, a pair of scissors. That's a good one. Yes, really good. You always need scissors, right? Great one. All right, so we talked about some supplies to help, right? And I talked about the fact that you can actually, if you're a note writer and you write little tiny notes to yourself all the time on backs of envelopes, put your notes right in your action file as well. So that way they are not floating around, you don't lose them, and they actually get taken care of. I mentioned quickly the paper policy, right? This is something in the Paper Path course that we talk about, and I give in the course the Paper Path policy template and everything, but just an overview of what this is. Recording your decisions about papers is so helpful. So helpful. It's probably one of the best things that you can do, because the hardest thing with papers is making the decisions. So when you see a pile of papers, that's a huge pile of, like 100 decisions that your brain's going to have to make. So of course we want to put that off because keep making that decision over and over is exhausting. But if you make the decision once and you record on, it can be a sheet of paper. If you have the Paper Path course, maybe use the paper policy. But if you record what type of paper it is and how long you've decided to keep it, have you decided to scan it or just recycle it or shred it? What is your policy? Every time that type of paper comes in, how are you handling it? Not only is that going to make your paper handling so much easier because your brain doesn't have to even engage. It just finds it on the list and does exactly what you tell yourself to do. But also, you're going to be consistent. So you never have to worry about accidentally filing, starting to file some of your bank statements in one folder and then starting another folder for bank statements with a different name and then having them split in two places, or, not being sure how long to keep something. So recording your decisions is huge. That will help reduce so much of your stress. But anytime that you can record your decisions, so you don't have to make them again, use checklists, any sort of path, a cheat sheet, a blueprint, all of these resources help relieve so much pressure on your brain because your brain does not have to work so hard then. So the more you can use checklists and like paths, like the paper path, where things are laid out, you're just following the steps. It's like a recipe, do this, do this, do this, or cheat sheets. The more you can do that, the easier your life's going to be. So in order to make your life easier, because that's what Boost Camp is about, I am sharing with you a free download. The link is in the video description as well as on the screen, or tonight with the replay. When you get the replay of this video, I'll also include the link there in case you have any troubles. All right. But here is what I'm giving you. This is for free. You can download it, print it out, and these are folder labels for your action file. So how this works, you can put them either inside or outside of your folder to remind yourself what goes in that folder. So one example is, this is the to-do folder, and it says anything you need to take action on that doesn't fit in one of the other folders goes in here. So basically you need to take action on it. It's not a to read, to enter, to file, to scan. And then it has examples, RSVP cards, phone calls to make, school forms to return, appointments to set, receipts for items to return, all of the things like that. So that's one example of the folders. And I have all of the main folders available for you on this sheet. So to do, to read, to enter, to scan, and to file. And then I also gave you some blank ones. So if you created any of your own special folders, then you can print up some blank ones to give yourself your own cheat sheet for that. Sound good? So hopefully this will help you out. This was just part of the Paper Path course, but I wanted to share it with you during Boost Week because I want to make sure that using your action file is as easy as possible. So use these in order to make it so much easier for your brain as you're getting used to your action file, so you don't have to keep trying to make those decisions of where something goes over and over again. All right, in the comments really quickly. And I also shared it, by the way, at Facebook. It's in the comments of Facebook too. Yes, so Magdiel says using Evernote. He uses Evernote. He says it allows him to take a picture of the document and then save it. Yes, if you scan papers, that is fantastic. Paperless is wonderful. And yeah, Evernote is great. So that's a good one if you do enjoy scanning things. And after it goes in your action file and it gets handled, then sometimes having just a scan folder is really helpful. So then you can scan in batches, or you can scan it as soon as you finish it, which is preferred, but we don't always get a chance to do that, right? Thank you. Connie says, I have my black metal file holders on the wall. Yeah, good. She says, the supplies you have in your folder, I have in a divided basket below. I have almost all the same supplies there. Oh, we think alike. Great job, Connie. I love that. Okay, so we talked about the supplies, and we talked about storing notes in our action file and recording our decisions using checklists, anything that we can do to take our brain out of the process, right? Because papers are exhausting for your brain. If you can make it easy for your brain, then your papers are going to be so much easier. Let's cover one last topic really quickly. And this is the one that I hear the most. How do you not forget to actually do the to-do items in your action file? Because especially when this is new, it can be difficult to remember to actually go back and do your to-dos or to check your to-reads, things like that, right? So if you're an out of sight, out of mind person, this is especially for you, but I'll cover for everybody. But out of sight, out of mind, a lot of times the thought of putting an important paper in a file folder out of, not laying right in front of your site is terrifying, isn't it? Let me know if you're an out of sight, out of mind person. Tell me in the comments. I know I am. So the thought of not being able to see something important, I get terrified that I might forget it. So now I've got my system set up. I'm not worried anymore about that, but I will share how I got over that with you and how you can make sure that you don't ever forget to go back and do anything important. Now, there's always the usual suggestions, right? You can enter it on your calendar. So if there's something that you put in your to-do folder that needs to be done, you can always set yourself an event on your calendar to actually do it. So that's one option. You can write it on your to-do list, right? Writing it on your to-do list, you could clip your to-do list right to the front of the action file if you wanted to. And before you put a paper in your to-do, you could write it on your to-do list. Those are some of the more common ways that absolutely work that you can do. Some other ideas, one of my favorites actually, is clipping important papers to the front. So one of the things that, like I mentioned, you only really need to check your to-do folder. And that's the only thing that you really need to create the habit for, is checking that to-do folder. So one of the things that I usually say about checking your to-do folder is just because you check the to-do folder does not mean that you are doing everything in that folder right then. So checking the to-dos is different from doing them. So making a habit of checking your to-dos is important, right? Create that habit of going into your folder and checking to see what is in your to-do folder. So when you do that and you pull out your to-do folder, what you'll do is basically what I say to do is open it up and see what in this folder is due before the next time you plan to check your to-do folder. So if you check it once a week, maybe you check it every Monday morning, for example, then look through your to-dos, which of the papers in that folder are due before that next Monday morning. And then whatever is due before then, take it out of your to-do folder. You can write it on your to-do list if you would like to at that point. When we do our weekly planning session, then I will talk about how to incorporate this into your week planning, your action file and all of this. But it's up to you whether you want to write it on your to-do folder, your to-do list or not. But anything that's due before the next time you plan to check, you can clip it right to the front of your action file. So now it is no longer out of sight, out of mind, right? Now you can see if there's something clipped to the front, that means you have something that is due very soon. So this is the stuff you need to be working on now, right? If there's nothing clipped to the front, then you can always go through your to-do folder when you have time and pull out things that don't necessarily have a deadline or things that you want to do earlier than they have to be done. So if there's nothing clipped to the front, great. You have nothing that is absolutely due before the next time you check that folder. If you do have something clipped to the front, though, that just means these have a deadline, and that deadline is soon. So you won't have anything catching fire inside of your to-do folder because it's all within your sight. And your goal can be, okay, I want nothing clipped to the front. So let's just do that really quickly so I can unclip it, right? If you're worried about privacy, just clip it where the back is facing out instead of the front. But that is one of the best ways. If you are out of sight, out of mind person, this is one of the best ways to make sure that you don't forget anything in your to-do folder. And remember, checking your to-do folder does not mean doing all the things right then. It simply means you are identifying what needs to be done soon and making sure that it is flagged in some way, whether put on your to-do list, put in your calendar, clip to the front. So that way you will not forget to do it. Now, you could clip it to the front. You could also, if you wanted to, if you have a bulletin board, maybe a bulletin board strip, you can check my Etsy store. I have some really cute bulletin board strips that say to do, remember, lists, things like that. But you could put a bulletin board strip above and clip, pin them to the bulletin board strip if you wanted to. You could have, sometimes I have people put one of those clear hanging cascading file holders on the wall over, and they put their to-dos in there so they can see if it's empty, there's nothing to do. If it's not empty, then you'll see the papers in there because it's clear. Or if you have a bin like mine where you see through it, a clear file folder, they actually sell clear file folders or a clear document pocket right in front where you have your to-dos in there so you can see that there are things to do. The main thing is, though, to make whatever is important right now visual for you. If you're not a sight out of mind person, that's really important. Now, setting a habit of when to check your to-dos, that is what we'll talk about in just a second as well. Really quickly, in the chat, I wanted to say, oh, Lisa. She says, I don't use many coupons, but when one comes for Harry's, I'll put it in the side pocket of my car. Did you know that they will honor expired coupons? That's awesome. Yeah, in your car is a great place. And sometimes, you know, having just your purse or some kind of basket for things that come in and out of the house next to your action file, which we'll talk about when we do the command center, you can put the coupon right in there so it'll get to the car. And that's a great way. I love that. She says, other junk mail doesn't come in the house. I just rip the address and name off to drop it in the shredder. Good job. And Carla says, that's me. Yes, out of sight, out of mind, right? And yeah, on Facebook, she says, scares me. G says, did anyone receive the link for the first class to review last night? Yeah, if you had any problem getting an email, then shoot me an email at hello@suzannakaye.com and just let me know if you missed any of the emails during this boost week, and we'll always help you out. Absolutely. Out of sight, out of mind on Facebook says, yes, very much. And yes, G, she asked if a link will be sent out as a replay for this. And yes, there will be a replay of this sent out. Absolutely. Donna says, yes, time goes by so quickly. If I don't see something, I can forget it and it gets too late. You and me both, girl. You and me both. Renee says, out of sight used to be stressful. Knowing it's in my files and having things cleaned up is so much more peaceful. It is, right? It really is peaceful. It's just getting to that point where you can trust that your systems are working. So you can trust not seeing it. And it's hard, but when you get there, it's so nice. Melanie, I'm a visual learner person. I forget what foods I have in the freezer, fridge, pantry, etc. And my kitchen counters tend to stay constantly full of stuff. You are in the right place. You are not alone. So many people here are like that too. On Facebook, they ask, is there an Avery label that you can print the action cards you just sent so they can stick to your file folder? I have file folder labels, but they're much smaller. There are labels. I'm pretty sure Avery makes them, but they're generally the large like postage labels that you would use to print out those full like prepaid postage things. And that you should be able to move those onto that type of labels. Yeah. Or you can always get just the full sheet of label paper. They sell label paper where it's not pre-cut into the individual labels, but it's one whole sheet, and you can even cut them yourself and do that. So good question. Renee says, clipping on the front is a great idea. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. On Facebook, wait, how do I get to your Etsy board? You should be able to go to SuzannaKaye.com and click on the store, and there should be a link there as well. So I'm slowly starting to put more and more stuff on the Etsy store. Slowly. G says, thank you. You're welcome. CJ says, my to-do list has become squares on a bingo board with a big X through the items that are done. That's right. CJ shared with us in the Path membership and Paper Path course. She mentioned how she does to-do bingo, which I love that. I absolutely love that. That's so fun. You're awesome. All right, so we talked about out of sight, out of mind, how to make sure that you don't miss any of those to-dos by making them visible, right? Just make them visible to yourself. But in order to do that, you do have to set up one habit, just one. So, and it's not a big habit. It's just the habit of checking that to-do list or that to-do folder, right? So when it comes to creating that habit, it can be really hard sometimes if you're just not the type of person who's good with habits. Also, that's me, not good with habits and not good with routines. Remember, a habit does not always have to happen at the same time on the same day. So a habit is just being consistent and doing it at a regular interval. So if it happens Monday, sometime during the day on Monday, that's still a habit, right? So if you have a life that's variable and you can't always commit to a specific time, that is okay. Maybe, every Sunday before bed, it gets done. And if it comes to bedtime and it did not get done, maybe there's like a little note next to your bed saying, check your to-do folder. So that way before bed, it gets done. So that's one thing about habits. They don't have to be really rigid. They just have to be consistent, right? So if you wanted to make sure to reinforce the habit, there are a couple things that you can do. For one, you can set reminders for yourself. And maybe on your phone, a recurring reminder once a week, every Sunday or every Monday, whatever day you choose, have that reminder pop up. Check your to-do folder. It doesn't mean you're doing everything. You're just checking it and making sure to pull out anything that needs to be pulled out, but check your to-do folder. In the Path membership, we have one of the member benefits is text message reminders. And a lot of times I'll text out reminders, hey, check your action file or go read through your to-read folder. So having text messages set up, that's a good one. You can also do something like having an event or something that's tied to this new habit. So a lot of times if there's a new medication you need to take, tying it to like brushing your teeth or getting your coffee in the morning, having it right there so you don't forget because you're already going to get your coffee every morning or brush your teeth each night. Well, when you do that, then you will see the medication and remember until it's a habit. You could do the same type of thing with your action file. Tie it to an existing event. If every Sunday morning you sit and you sip hot tea on the patio and go through your calendar for the week, then okay, while you do that, grab the action file too. And that can just tie it to that habit. That habit of sitting and reviewing your week includes the action file now. If you are a Path member, especially, we do our group hikes and we do our group hikes 6 times a month right now, at least. So during the group hikes, one of the things that I do is I remind you, go through your action file, put your papers in your action file if they've not made it in there, and check your to-do folder. So using things like the Path memberships group hikes, you can always become a Path member at the store, but those group hikes are great time to not only go through your to-dos, but process some of these folders. And you can use them consistently. The Saturday hikes, the daytime hike, the Thursday night hike, whatever it is, you can use that. That's your time for the action file, maybe. Another option is on Monday. And by the way, the group hikes, if you are not a Path member yet, then you probably have not experienced one. If you are a Path member, you probably already know because I know a lot of you join us for the hikes. But we have a public group hike, free for everybody who's in Boost Camp. this public group hike is this Saturday. So you can hop on and bring your action file with you. And I'm there to answer any questions you have. It's a great time to review it, get it all spruced up and ready for the week. So join me this Saturday, which is tomorrow, for the public group hike. In your emails, you'll have the information on how to join. So make sure to check your emails. Also on Monday, we are doing a week planning session. It's a 30-minute session on Monday, this upcoming Monday. And this is where we are going to sit down and plan our week. That's a great time to use that time to quickly review your to-do folder for your action file. And we'll talk about that during the week planning session. And that's a possible benefit that I might be adding on for the Path members coming up. It's something I'm trying out, but hopefully you can join me on Monday. And again, your emails will tell you more information about that. So attaching your new habit to something you're already doing, or setting reminders for yourself until it becomes a habit, or attending some sort of event or having an event where during this time, when there's other people around, during this time, this is your focus time, and that's when you will work on your action file. Those are 3 really good ways to do that. Now, remember though, just because you are checking your to-dos, that does not mean you have to actually do them right then. So do not be stressed out when you think about checking the to-do folder. Realize you don't have to do them. You're just checking them, because a lot of times our brain can fool us and it will tell us, oh, I'll do that later, because it does not want to check the to-dos because it thinks it's going to have to do them. And you don't have to do them right that moment. And then next week, I will share how to build this into a command center to make your kind of whole hub of your life, that main hub for your daily life. But that was a lot, right? I feel like that was a lot. I hope you feel like it wasn't too much, but tell me in the comments what you thought. If you have any questions still, please let me know. Remember, we've got the group hike tomorrow, and you can ask questions then and join us and work on any project that you have that you need to work on, or any task. If you have to paint your toenails, then that's a great time to paint your toenails, whatever it is. The group hikes are just productive times. So join us for that tomorrow. On Monday, join us for the week planning session and get your week all planned out. I'll share my weekly planner with you that Monday. And make sure to download your printable folder labels, so that way you can add little cheat sheet labels to your folders, because remember, no need to reinvent the wheel. Let's take our brain out of the system. If somebody's built a checklist or a path or a resource, then follow it. You don't have to build it all yourself. I'll do a quick recap after I check the comments. And yeah, Donna, I hear you. She says, yes, getting into a routine is always a struggle for me. I start out well, but then it often goes to the wayside. Yeah, that's why I built the group hikes, because having that commitment on your calendar where there are other people that will be there tends to, it's like magic for some people. You know, all of a sudden you'll commit to that more than you'll commit to yourself, right? There are other people there, and it's an actual event. It's on your calendar. So it's a great way to make sure that you get some productive work done, whatever you want to work on. But that's a great time to do your action file. You and I are very similar, Donna. Sherry says, yay. Lisa says, Donna, same here. You are not alone. On Facebook, is the Command Center in the Paper Path course? It's not currently. It will be. But this is something I'm putting together that's new, sharing how to put together a full Command Center and making that sort of the hub of your life. So while it's not in there yet, it will be. Donna says, thank you, Lisa. That makes me feel better, right? Yeah, that's another great thing. Our Path members, you know, you realize how you are not alone and how many other people have the same struggles as you. Yeah. Emma says, help, I have so many boxes of papers. Should I start with new and gradually do the old? Yes. Yes. In the Paper Path course, I have an entire milestone just talking about sorting papers. And I tell you the onion method, that's the super easy way to sort through a lot of papers. But within that course, yes, I always say start with the newest, because those will be the things that are the most relevant. And then as you've gotten through the new stuff, then start gradually pulling in the old stuff. And I have a lot of tricks to make that less overwhelming in the Paper Path course for that, in that milestone. Yeah, G says, Emma, same problem for me, right? Yeah, see, you're not alone here. Joanna says, I find the group hikes very helpful. I love having you on our hikes, Joanna. Yeah, she's a great member. Erica says, I get so much done on Thursdays during the 11 a.m. video and the Path member Zoom call. Worth the Pathfinder membership just for that. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Yay. Oh, Marie says, hi. Hi, Marie. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I'll do a quick recap, and then I will answer the Facebook question about what is the Paper Path course as well. Oh, and CJ says, group hikes are wonderfully helpful for getting past procrastination, right? It's amazing how much easier it is to focus, and it goes by so fast. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so to recap, our action file, right? Remember, in the action file, every folder relates to an action. So you should be able to use the word to at the beginning of the label. To read, to enter, to file. What is the action? Not what type of paper it is. What is the action that you have to take with the paper? And just the next action. What action do you need to do first? Do you need to read through it first? Do you need to actually do something first before you enter it somewhere else? What's the next action? 2, when it gets full, it gets filed or it gets done, right? The to-do folder is the only one that you really need to make a habit of checking. The rest of them should be absolutely fine until you get around to it. When it gets full, you can handle it. When you have time, you can handle it. Group hikes, during the group hikes are a great time to handle it. So do not stress out. We've made it really streamlined. There's one folder that you need to focus on. The rest will get done. Number 3, papers flow from your action file to your full paper system, right? So this is stop number 1 for your papers. This is where anything that has to be done with them gets done. And after all of your actions are done and it's no longer has any actions needed, that's when you decide, is it keep or go? If it's go, recycle, shred, however you let go of it. If it's keep, then it works into your paper system. And as part of that answer for the Paper Path course, in the Paper Path course, that's what I teach you, right? The Paper Path course is a course. It's an online course, and it breaks down step by step how to organize all of the papers in your home. And what I teach you, step 1, you've already got done, build your action file. So it's a great thing to review if you wanted to in the Paper Path course if you're ever unsure about your action file. But step 1, that first milestone is build your action file. The other milestones are building out and how to use and how papers flow into your short-term files, your long-term files, and archive papers, your special papers, all of these different parts of a paper system. Because just having one file cabinet is not efficient. That is absolutely not efficient, and it's going to just get all filled up with a lot of junk. So having short-term files separated from long-term files, having a paper flow that goes between them that's really simple to understand, that's important. And that's what the Paper Path course teaches you. But your action file, remember, this is the starting point. So everything hits this action file when it first comes in. And from there, that's where it'll eventually get into your filing system if it's a keep paper. Remember, always have fewer than 10 folders. You don't want too many choices. The more choices you have, the more your brain has to engage, the harder it's going to be to make that choice. Really broad categories. If you have more than 10 folders, see which of them you could combine into a broader category. So if you had like to call and maybe to call and to like handwrite back or letters to answer, maybe you group those together and it's just like correspondence or something like that, or communication to communicate. That's a terrible example, but you know what I mean. Where if you have too many folders, then your brain's going to have too many choices. So sometimes you can combine some into a broader category. You want to keep your action file in the easiest spot possible. Start with where you're already dumping your mail. Even if it's in the middle of your kitchen counter, plop your action file right there until you're used to it. And always keep it easy. If it's in your back office or if it's upstairs, then that's not easy to get your papers into when they first come in. Then you're going to end up with paper piles and things outside of your action file. You don't want that. So you want this to be quickly drop things in as soon as they come in. Now, I already talked about why it works. The nice thing is it gives you a second chance to review any papers before you keep them. So if you look at them later, sometimes you're like, why did I think that I needed to keep that? I don't. You'll keep fewer papers that way, which is nice. It helps with batching for productivity, doing like tasks together because it's already batched for you, which is nice. You have fewer choices. Remember, fewer than 10 folders. That means that it's really easy to file your papers quickly because your brain does not have to think as hard. You're taking your brain out of the system. You don't need your brain for this anymore just to put your mail away. The fewer the choices, the easier it is. It can hold absolutely every paper that comes into your life. So if it comes in, there's a spot for it in your action file. I guarantee it. Fast and simple. Once you get the hang of it, it is a different way of thinking. So you will need to get the hang of it. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not something that we just naturally understand, the concept of filing by the action instead of filing by the paper type, because that's not something that we've ever been taught. But once you get the hang of it, so much easier, so much faster, and everybody in your household can use it too. The next level ideas, we talked about supplies, adding extra supplies so they are right there at your fingertips and you can complete whatever you need to complete within your action file, all those to-do papers, because you've got the supplies you need. You can also store little handwritten notes to yourself. I'm a note writer. I'm always writing little notes and I will throw them in my action file. That way you don't have notes floating around and they're there for you when you're ready to enter it somewhere else or do it. And remember, again, we are taking our brain out of the system. We don't want our brain to have to make these decisions over and over again. We don't want our brain to have to think and engage and work hard just to handle papers, because that is why papers are hard. Papers are hard because the decisions that we have to make with them. And our brains don't like making those decisions. They're scary decisions sometimes. So once you make your decision, record it. If you have any way of making it easier, checklists, paths like the paper path course where it's already laid out for you, cheat sheets like the sheets that I just shared with you for your folder labels. Cheat sheets help. Blueprints like in the paper path course, I lay out exactly this is how you set up your file cabinet. And I tell you, label all of your folders like this, put them in this order. I do it by personality type, figure out your personality type with a quick quiz. This is how to set up your file cabinet. So blueprints like that. Anything that's going to make it easier and take your brain out of it, do it. So record your decisions, use your checklists and your cheat sheets. And remember, I shared the download with you. The download is in the video description. It'll be with the replay that is going to happen tonight of this. So don't worry about that. And then we talked about how not to forget to check your action file, right? Make a calendar event to remind yourself to check the to-do folder. Make a habit. Make it a habit of every Monday, this is what you do, something like that. If you're worried about the out of sight, out of mind, if you have papers that are due soon, before the next time you plan to check your to-do folder, one of the easiest ways to do it is clip them to the front of your action file so you can see that there's a deadline coming up and these are papers that are due soon. So clipping them to the front, just make them visible. Clip them to the front, hanging from a bulletin board that's the wall next to your action file, however you can make them visible so you know what is due soon. And then as far as more ways to create these habits, use tools that are already available. Use the resources out there. So if you're a Path member or tomorrow, remember a free one, try it out for free, group hikes. This is where we actually get together and do productive work together. So use group hikes, use that time to go through your action file. Use that time to enter anything in your to enter folder, to go through your to-do folder and actually do some of the things to make sure that you're all taking care of your entire action file. Use the week planning sessions. Monday, we have a free one for Boost Camp. So join me on Monday and work the action file into your weekly plan. So using the action file to help you build your to-do list for the week and figure out your priorities for the week. That is really helpful. And if you want help with that, join me on Monday for the week planning session. And set yourself reminders, whether you're a Path member and you get the reminder text messages, or if you just set the reminders app on your phone to pop up, check action file, check the to-do folder. You don't have to do it. Remember, checking your to-dos is not actually doing them. You just have to check your to-do folder, pull out anything that needs to be done soon before the next time you plan to check it and clip it to the front if you're an out of sight, out of minder, or add it to your to-do list, add it to your calendar, however you want to do that. So that was the recap All right, I will share a last little bit about things coming up and what the Paper Path course is. I just told you what it is. I'll tell you just a little bit more really quickly, but in the comments, okay, Melanie, she says, where would I find the paper policy form? In the Paper Path course, it is in the recording your decisions section of the incoming papers milestone. So when you go into the Paper Path course and go into incoming papers, the incoming papers milestone where we build the action file, there's a part that says recording your decisions. And that's where the paper policy is. Oh, cool. Melanie says, I've done the Paper Path in the past. Do I still have access to any forms or such that were included in the course? Always. For life. Yes. Yes, you always have access to your Paper Path course, and it's in your online library when you log in. If you have any problems logging in, finding it, shoot me an email at hello@suzannakaye.com, and we are always there to help you. G says, after the first class I took, my action file grew into too many folders due to concern about missing deadlines, etc. Yes. So you want to make sure not to do too many folders. It just, it clutters it all up, and it will really slow you down and make your action file not very efficient, and it'll make it much harder to use. So try that action file again with fewer than 10 folders, and it's just building up this trust in yourself by building that habit of checking your to-do folder, right? So within your to-do folder, and it is okay. This is something that I talk about sometimes in like the Path membership when we go deeper into some things. It is okay within your to-do folder if you need to, if you have too many things in your to-do folder, to have like maybe one subfolder for things to do later or things without a deadline. So that way you can separate out the things with a deadline or without, or things to pay versus all the rest of the to-dos, so that you can easily see what's something that has to be paid versus just things to do. So you can add one subfolder if you need to into your to-do folder. And by subfolder, I just mean like one of those non-hanging folders that you can stick into it. Don't put too many subfolders in there either though, because if you do, again, then you're turning it into a file cabinet. And when it becomes structured like a file cabinet with too many choices, it stops working. So hopefully that helps. Really good comment. Thank you. Jana says, maybe to reply or to respond. There you go. Yes, with my example that I was shared earlier, that terrible example. Thank you, Jana. Much better. She says, I have a file to remove for all the solicitation mail my mom gets asking for donations. That's a good one. Yes, really good. G says, is there access to a personality trait test? Yes. Within the Paper Path course, there's a personality test that I have that you can take in order to figure out what your paper personality is and your organizing personality type. Yeah. On Facebook, she says, I've been trying to download the PDF from the link in my email, and it keeps saying I'm blocked from doing this. I don't understand why. Any help would be appreciated. Can you do me a favor and shoot me an email at hello@suzannakaye.com, and we'll try to help you out with that and figure out what's going on. It might just be a setting on your computer. I'm not sure. But yeah, try that out and shoot me an email and we can help. Yeah, G says, that's why I'm here this week. Redo and learn the right way so it's beneficial. Yeah, you've got this. You've absolutely got this. Well, all right. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Like I said, replay will come out tonight, so that way you can review this. And if you missed the link, then the link will be there too for downloading the file folder labels. But make sure to join me on Saturday, which is tomorrow, for the free group hike. This is a public one, so it'll be really active and fun, but we have work sessions where we do sprints, it's called, where we're focusing and we're getting work done. And that's the perfect time to work on your action file or any other project that you're working on. It could be laundry, it could be something for work, it could be, a different project, it could be your Spark Life binder, caregiver binder, whatever it is. Then if you want to be productive, then stop by for that. And then on Monday, join me for the week planning session. So also, if you do want to organize the rest of your papers and you don't already have that Paper Path course, then it is open. Remember, the action file is the first step for your papers. The rest of the system, the Paper Path course teaches you all the other parts of the system, but it breaks it down into one super tiny bite at a time. So you do a bite and then you do the next bite and do the next bite. So you don't have to think about what to do next. try to make it super easy for you because papers can be very stressful. I know. And it has a whole section on how to sort old papers. If you have a lot of old papers that need to be sorted, easiest way possible, onion method. And I tell you exactly how to get through all of those old papers without it being as stressful. So make sure if you're interested in the Paper Path course, get it before the end of the night on Thursday, because after that, the price is going up another $50 because I've added so much extra resources and content and help into that Paper Path course that it's even with the extra $50, it's way underpriced compared to other things out there. But yeah, so hopefully you can grab that if you're interested before the end of the day Thursday. And when you do, remember, you'll also get a free month. If you're not already a member, you'll get a free month of the Paper Path membership, or not Paper Path membership, the Path membership. Free month of the Path membership, and you can try that out too. If you don't need help with the rest of your paper system and you just want to become a Path member, you can anytime at the store at SuzannaKaye.com. I would always love to have you along with me there. The full calendar and the store is available at SuzannaKaye.com. And remember, try just one small change at a time. Don't try to revamp your entire life. Just get 1% better, one small step at a time. And if you keep doing that every day, then you will be amazed at what you can do. One small step at a time can get you to all of your goals before you even know it. Sherry says, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are a lifesaver. Aw, thank you, Sherry. Aw, I love it. And Jane, I can only find an old registration for the Paper Path course. I'm not sure what you mean by an old registration. If you mean that you registered in the past, then if you purchased the Paper Path course in the past, then you still have access. So when you log in, you'll have it. If you're saying that there's a problem with the link, then shoot me an email at hello@SuzannaKaye.com and I'll see if I can troubleshoot that for you. So hopefully that helps. CJ says, thanks as always, Suzanna. Loving the boost. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. All right. Well, I will see you tomorrow for the public group hike. Watch your email. If you need anything, you know where to find me, and you've got this beautiful. I love you. Bye now.